What's happening, guys? I'm a regular guy with the Regular Guy Firearms channel. Thanks for watching. Now, you're going to have to forgive me because I do not have a tripod here today, but we're going to go over the prone position. Okay, now, as far as the prone position is concerned, there's a lot of contemporary different ways to do it. But the biggest thing that we really have to go over as far as the prone position is concerned really has to do with regards to accuracy. Okay, because if we're trying to get into a prone position and like roll over onto our side and shoot stuff like that, you know, that's actually not difficult at all. What is difficult with the prone position, well, in general, is really fine-tuning what helps make a very precise shot. Okay, now as far as a super precise shot and stuff like that is concerned, the biggest thing that you really need to understand is that, let's say that we're going to zero a rifle, right? Well, first things first is that if we're going to go ahead and zero a rifle, like I have a rifle right here, and let's say that I'm going to zero it. Well, before I jump into a position or do anything like that, I'm going to set the rifle basically in line, meaning it's facing my actual target, and then I'm going to get into position behind it. Because the problem is with mostly dudes is that we make things happen all the time. And in a lot of different positions, you know, just making things happen is the name of the game. You know, we're in a kneeling position because we're trying to get a little bit smaller. We're trying to get around cover. We're trying to make things happen. The prone position's greatest strength is that you can truly iron out some serious accuracy with it, and you can truly do things that are within and sometimes better than the mechanical capability of your rifle. Now, here's the deal. I have this rifle pointed at a target, right? So if I'm going to go ahead and get into position behind it, and no, I'm not wearing iPro today. It's super humid and stuff keeps fogging up, so you're going to have to deal with that. But you know, we're getting into position behind the rifle. It's already pointed at the target. This helps assist us with like our natural point of aim and stuff. So we're getting into the prone position behind the rifle itself. Okay. Now the rifle and I are pointed in the same direction at one time, rather than getting into position and then settling in behind it and all that jazz. So from that point, I'm going to simply pick up the rifle. And here's one thing that a lot of us need to understand. Like the magazine thing, you can set this on the ground. Okay, if your rifle will not cycle with the magazine in the ground, that is a crappy magazine. Okay, so get rid of that magazine and fix the problem. Okay, now as far as the prone position itself is concerned, what we really want to do is we want to use leverage to our advantage here. So if we have a longer handguard or a shorter handguard, what we really want to do is we want to stretch ourselves out on the handguard as far as we can. Now this isn't a super long handguard, but I'm pretty far out there on it. And really all that is, if we look at just how levers work and we look at leverage and all that other stuff, we have a lot of points of contact on the gun. But if we're spread out across the ground, more points of contact spread out farther away is usually a little bit better than a bunch of points of contact really close. It helps you maintain the balance of the rifle itself. And I'm looking through a 4-power scope here, so if you are far enough away, you can actually see your heartbeat moving the reticle. There's actually less of that physical movement if you're spread out further across the rifle. Now the movement's there, okay, and between you breathing and and your heartbeat going, and the fact that you're a water-filled squishy thing, between all that extra movement, if we spread out our points of contact pretty much as far as we can get them, and that mostly has to deal with this hand, we can actually deliver good hits a little bit easier because we're physically moving a little bit less. Now, here's another thing. Most guys will just grip their pistol grips like so, and for most cases, that's just fine. But the thing is that if we grip an object like so, and we start to add grip tension to it, and over time people just do this, if I am simply just wrapped around this pistol grip, okay, and I'm letting go of the rest of the rifle, If I just add tension to it, look at what the rifle does and how it moves. And all I'm doing is adding grip tension for these fingers. So there's a little bit of torqued movement this way. Okay, in addition to the fact that we're pressing a trigger, we're adding all of this torquey motion this way. So how do we correct that, and how do we eliminate a bunch of it? Well, a good way to do it is to simply throw your thumb over the top or onto the side of the rifle, and it alleviates all of that, because most of that torque comes from your thumb and these fingers. So if you just have these fingers on the pistol grip and you relax your hand, all you're really doing is using this trigger finger, and there's a lot less movement. In addition, in the precision world, they have a different mind for the word drive the gun than what we're used to. Drive the gun usually means really get in there and control recoil and all that other stuff. But for these guys, and this is where this really counts, is that you take this hand and you're not adding a ton of pressure. You're really not. But you are pulling it very slightly into your shoulder, just so that we can, there again, minimize some of the movement that's in there. Now, I'm not saying to throw an enormous amount of torque into the pistol grip, because all you're doing is hurting yourself now, because the extra tension will tire you out. So just relax your hand, throw your thumb over the side here, and simply add a little bit of grip tension towards the rear. Okay, and with that done, you can actually hit stuff pretty far away, because right now we're looking at 200 yards, which no is not hard for an ACOG. Okay, and I'm pretty sure you guys can pick up the sound from the steel. And then we're going to 300, also no, not hard for an ACOG at all. And all there is, as far as tension, is just you placing this hand on this pistol grip and just adding a little bit of tension towards the rear. You notice that the gun barely moved at all as it was in the prone, because I have a point of contact in the ground, I have a point of contact in the shoulder, I have a non-counteractive point of contact on the pistol grip, and my hand is scooted out as far as I can possibly get it on the rail itself, okay, or on the handguard itself. So it adds a lot to that. But the problem is what happens if I can't get in this good, perfect, precision rifle type position, right? Well, elevation plays a big key in that. So we're going to have to go into what a lot of people recognize as an unsupported position, and I'm sorry, these rocks are kind of a pain in the ass, but all that is really is you raising up onto your elbows now. Now, as far as that's concerned, a lot of guys go to the magazine well for a bunch of things, and that's fine, simply because of how the body is working at this point, to where if we're stretched out too far, we're overextended, because we're now counting on muscle tension to provide the support, which is much less support. Or we can come in and have more of your hand making contact with the rifle itself, simply because of the fact that in the supported position where we're down here, okay, we don't need to count on anything to physically hold up the rifle. And all we're trying to do is use this hand a little bit further out to stabilize it and keep it from moving around, using the ground as what's basically holding the rifle up. But if we're backed up onto our elbows, we have to actually hold up the rifle now. And if we have to use nothing but muscle tension to hold it up, sometimes, and it depends on arm length really, if we're scooted out too far because it's us that's holding up the rifle instead of the ground, that can be rather exhausting for some folks, and some guys prefer it this way. Either one of these actually work pretty well. Now, with all that being said, okay, what happens to the rest of our body? Well, the rest of our body is fairly straight behind the rifle, actually. Similar to, the boxing stance and all that stuff that I was talking about before in my previous videos about this, to where, okay, we're stood up, we're in a boxing position, we're in a kneeling, we're in that same boxing position, and now in the prone, we're just simply making an X with our legs and getting nice and straight behind the rifle. This is mainly for a recoil control aspect of prone. But then a lot of people are going to go ahead and chime in and say, oh, well, what's the point of recoil control in a precision rifle position? And that's actually a valid way. That's actually a valid approach, really, because we're trying to be more accurate versus, control and drive and run the gun super fast. But the recoil control aspect of the prone position, to me, is a little important. And the reason why it's a little important and not massively important is that if the gun is moving around less, if we just have more body mass behind the rifle, then, in all honesty, I have less to think about other than shooting. Does that make sense? To where if I'm sitting here and worrying about shooting over controlling the rifle or bringing it back on target and all that other stuff, then it works a little bit easier for you. It's less for you to have to deal with. And yeah, it's not a big deal. It's not like this is a big, huge bore rifle or anything like that. But anything that is taking less away from me just trying to shoot straight is stuff that I'm all for. So, with all that being said, as far as a prone position and basically in summary, get behind the rifle straight. Make sure that you're not having to torque into position or turn real hard left or right so that you're not adding tension in the wrong places. If you're in the prone position down here, okay, you want to spread yourself out because the ground is holding up the rifle with the magazine, okay? And if it's just you that's holding up the rifle, you want to do your best to not overextend that support to where now you are exhausting yourself a little early. Either way, though, this position is really, really stable, and that's its biggest advantage, is that you can get really stable and shoot very far. I mean, devastatingly far in the prone position, especially if you are just cheating your ass off with a 4-power scope like a Trijicon ACOG or something. And yeah, our review's coming on this optic. Okay? So, in all, guys, it really is one of those things where you have to get out and do it. This whole series is about that. So, next up in the pike is really just me going through auxiliary positions. I know that a lot of you guys are asking about, the squatting position and various other positions. Those are coming. I wanted to get these 3 videos out to talk about the contemporary positions that we've all learned, standing, kneeling, prone, and all that other stuff. But, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay? And also, you guys will notice that I'm not on a normal venue. I'm at the Deer Hollow Gun Club. These guys have been helping us out a lot with just like venues for either testing classes or just me coming out here and doing stupid crap like this video. Okay? But, I'll leave a link for them in the description below because they do a lot of concealed carry permit classes for their area. They're in White House, Tennessee. So, if you're in that area and you're looking to get a concealed carry permit, then just go ahead and check them out. But other than that, though, remember, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy. I'm going to go back to shooting this rifle now.